All right, what's up, assholes? Red Bull Hardline just happened. Gonna yap about that shit real quick while it's fresh in my brain. But then also, while we're here, may as well get into some of the other news, team changes, new bike release, and some other bullshit. Plus a bit of an update on just like what's going on with the channel, some future projects that I'm stoked on. But for now, let's rip into Hardline, get hard for Hardline. It was a sick race. The new generation is here though. Asa and Jackson definitely like a step ahead of everyone else. Asa's run was far from perfect, definitely had some sloppy moments, but still snuck it in right behind Jackson, which is even more impressive given that he didn't take the hot inside line. And we got to talk more about this line. As I'm editing this video, more information is coming out. So it seems like this sneaky inside was an Australian thing. Sam knew about it, Connor and Troy. You know, seemed like they had their little Aussie pact going. But then Troy let Jackson know about the line right before his race run. So Jackson hits it on the fly. Doesn't hit it as good as Troy, but, you know, that line, there was good time in that inside line for sure. Asa comes down, clearly has no idea about it, hits the outsides, 2/10 back. Now, if I'm Asa, I'm kind of pissed. I'm sure Troy probably like didn't think much of it. Just like, hey man, here's a line at the top, watching GoPro, check this out. But knowing that Asa was the fastest qualifier, and I mean, to be honest, Jackson is probably the next guy in contention for the win, to kind of influence the outcome of the race like that, I don't know. I don't think it was malicious by Troy at all. I don't get that vibe. But if I'm in Asa's shoes, I'm feeling like I kind of got screwed. Because, you know, if Asa hit that line, good chance he wins the race. And that's huge for Asa. It means a lot. There's prize money.
You know what I'm saying? Because money's on the line. I need my Escalade paid off. Yeah. Dude, I am fucking real.
There's a lot of career momentum that goes along with that. You know, Jackson kind of has already got his nut a few times. Asa is, you know, has too, but I mean, he's still kind of on that like exponential upward trajectory. So like as a viewer, I'm a little bummed that it kind of came down to that. Like I would have loved to just have it be like straight up. Yeah, I don't know if I like it coming down to like a weird line thing. You know, that is downhill racing, but it just felt a little weird. So either way, congrats to Jackson. I mean, his running was insane, but yeah, given that Asa had a chance to win and looked like he had a worse run than Jackson, missed a major line and was that close. Super impressive, and I would understand if he's a little bummed out, especially with Jackson's celebration. That was a big comeback win for Jackson. He was stoked, kind of a Nikolai Rogodkin type celebration, but can't blame him. If I was in that position, I'd be fucking pumped too. But otherwise, I kind of just like took some notes as I watched it. Yeah, I'll just kind of go through what I wrote down for each rider. Josh Bryceland, was he even trying? I'd be curious to hear how Josh like approached that race run. What's wild is, I mean, in 2015, I think it was the year after he won his world champion or his World Cup overall. I mean, he rode like that, but got top 10s. So I don't know. That run just reminded me of him dropping into race runs with shorts, chest protector, over the jersey, and like steezing his way to top 10. World Cup overall Josh was maybe my favorite Josh. But I don't know. If he's actually going to be trying to get up to speed, he's got some work to do. Gracey, that was a killer run. Not only just like getting down the track. I mean, I think that's, you know, she stands on her own just for doing that, but she was whipping the big jumps, had good style, looked super composed. I mean, it'd be cool to see more girls out there pushing each other, but she made that course look easy. So that was cool to see. And then all I wrote for Matt Jones is, bro, why is Matt Jones faster than Rat Boy? Freaking pissed me off. But cool to see him out there too. Sam Hill, back in between the tape. I mean, there wasn't too much tape on this course, but it seems like he was kind of winging it. According to his wife, he hardly rode the bike beforehand. But, I mean, you can just tell. He's got some Jedi-level bike riding abilities, but I think obviously wasn't going to risk it for the biscuit. No point. Dan Booker, why the hell is he in a D3? Some dude, get this freaking dude a helmet. Smooth operator, was bummer to see him have a flat. Bernard Kerr, I wrote down try hard. Definitely, like, even the last 2 runs, I don't know. Like, definitely the one, like, pushing it the most. I felt like the most on edge when I was watching Bernard, and, I mean, he was able to keep it together and put down a time. I mean, I think for Bernard, like, he's got a good angle on Red Bull Hardline. Like, I think he's one of the riders who, you know, maybe doesn't consider himself like a contender every weekend at the World Cup. But if he can lock down kind of his profile as the hardline guy, I think he can go to sponsors and really leverage that. And I think he has in the past. So I think he puts a lot of emphasis on this event. And I mean, I think he was stoked on his run either way. But as someone who was like trying to win, I think Bernard probably cares the most about hardline out of anyone here. I guess maybe except Jackson. Jackson seemed to really attack this event like what it do too. But Troy, smooth operator. I mean, he laced up that inside insanely well. And without seeing the last 2 runs, I mean, it kind of appeared that's like maybe almost as good as you could have ridden the track. And I also wrote down, like, it was really hard to tell, like, who was going fast. Could tell subtle things. The commentators were doing a good job of pointing out the differences. Actually, speaking of the commentating, that was really nice. That was really good. Rob, Elliott Jackson, and Valentina Hole is like a really sick combo. I mean, everyone talks with experience, but they also play different roles and are really good. But anyway, moving on. Jackson, I mean, pretty much looked perfect. Again, like, being that the times were so tight and it was like hard to tell who was going fast, you kind of could tell with Jackson that he was kind of on another level, and the times showed it. And it was just insane how dialed that run was. It's not like he was doing one thing different. I mean, it was just kind of like the Aaron Gwin effect, like fast everywhere. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. And then Asa, to come down with that last run with the opportunity to win and to have that big moment at the top, but still be like 2/10 back. I mean, he's probably frustrated because I think he could have taken home the win with a few less mistakes, but I don't know. That's also, like, I think a confidence builder, just knowing that, you know, head to head with Jackson Goldstone, he's on the level. Jackson's won Elite World Cups. Like, those two to me are kind of the future of the sport. Yeah, overall, hardline, super sick. I just saw Ronan's crash. As someone who's had a lot of concussions, crashes like that just make me like want to throw up in my mouth. Like, I see it once, swipe off, would rather not see it. Like, that was brutal. And, like, you know, it kind of weirds me out in the captions, like, yeah, all good, you know, nothing too serious. It's like, take care of your head, man. That stuff is serious. I'm not him. I don't know how he felt after that, but it looked like he hit his head pretty hard. So I hope he's all cleared up by the beginning of World Cup season, because that'll affect you more than a wrist that's hurting or a leg that's nagging you if your head's not in the right place. But bummed we didn't get to see a run and done belter to defend the title. Fan of Hardline. It would be really cool to see them do a third one somewhere and, like, bring it together as a series. I mean, come on, it's got to be in North America, right? Canada, the US, like, there's got to be some venue that can build a hardline out here. It's like, that would go nuts. But I guess leading up to it, like I kind of wanted to comment on this. I guess I got like kind of just like overwhelmed with, it's like, it's a cool event because it's not just about the racing. It's also like a huge media thing, and there's way more media coming out of Red Bull Hardline. Kind of a more diverse selection of media. But I don't know. It kind of just feels like a social media circle jerk sometimes. And it is just like a viral ass event. So I guess like I maybe got a little tired of the viralness and like try-heartedness of the media campaign around Hardline. But at the end of the day, I think it doesn't matter. It is what it is. It's part of the reason why it's such a cool event. And I want to see a North American round. There's like so many resorts that could host it in Northern California that have elevation, that have plenty good terrain. This is going to get me on like a rant about North American or American bike parks. It's like, with the terrain that we have, it's still pretty mind-boggling that like no resort has like stamped it and been like, this is the premier mountain bike destination in the US. Like, I've had this conversation. It's like, what's the best bike park in the US? And you're like, well, this one's kind of cool for that. This one's cool for this. But when you really compare them to Whistler, Queenstown, Musings, any of like the actual premier riding destinations that you would go and like travel to, they don't even come close to stacking up. So it's like, yeah, there's good bike parks there and there's stuff worth riding, but like it would be sweet if a mountain somewhere just really invested and took it on themselves to kind of like be the premier thing. Yeah, overall, Jackson, out of anyone, just looks like he's on video game mode. Some of the whips he was doing over those jumps were absolutely fucking nuts. Cranked to the max. But my favorite moment from the weekend was Asas' whip on his qualifying run. That's one of the nastiest whips I've ever seen on a mountain bike. Like, that was buck wild, and it's just, you don't see that style of whip hardly at all on mountain bikes. I mean, there is one other guy, my buddy Damon Iwanaga, that does those really good, and that's kind of his like signature move, but you do not see like the turn up, full like lean and commit to like turn down and whip it the other way. And then Asa got like overcorrected and it ended up being kind of buck, but just that like nasty turn up, turn down whip on a jump that big was pretty mental. While I'm doing this though, thought I may as well just go through some other news topics that popped up. Pivot released the Trail Cat with the SL and LT versions. I think you guys know what I'll have to say about the geometry there. Kind of long in the front, a little short in the rear, but I think this modular frame design is actually pretty cool, and I think you're going to see more and more of it. There's other examples on the market right now, but it makes sense for a lot of brands to kind of have the same front triangle, same rear triangle, mess around with links a little bit, and give you two different bikes, two travel categories. Besides the whole modular frame thing, there's really not a whole lot new going on with it. I mean, they're joining the down tube storage club. I mean, I think the argument's getting harder and harder for people to upgrade their bikes unless you're on something that's really old. But like, I mean, if you're on an older Trail 429 now, I mean, you could point to a few things, the down tube protection or the down tube storage, slight geo changes if you think that plays into your favor. It looks nice, but going forward from here, like what's the next model going to look like? What's the next model going to offer you that the new Trail Cat doesn't? I mean, things are always moving and stuff comes out of left field sometimes that kind of changes the game, but like, I don't know, I think it's kind of a hard argument for this model, let alone the next one. I think geometry is stabilizing, suspension is good, and yeah, even riding this Brosnan V2 from 2018, it's like, have we come as far as we really think we have? And I mean, what does the next 8 years look like? I think it's going to be increasingly challenging for companies to sell new model year bikes, new generation bikes, whatever you want to call it. I think there's going to be more like grasping at straws and creating different I think there's going to be some like creative angles being played for new bikes. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I think that's just a necessity of bike design, suspension technology, everything kind of leveling out around a certain point right now. I mean, I think there's still performance on the table with geometry, but it's clear that not companies are going to continue to turn away from that. At least the majority of them are. So I just see them pulling at other things to try and sell you the bikes. And I'm just curious to see what that will be. But moving on, Yeti Downhill team, love to see it. Richie's going to be signing up for some more downhill racing this upcoming year. But the big news is Camille Balanche is a Yeti factory rider. Didn't really see that coming. Stoked to see Yeti having like a dedicated effort on the World Cup circuit. That's a pretty big move. And kind of a risk from Camille's standpoint, her caliber of rider going to, a team that really hasn't been on the circuit. But the bike looks freaking sick. I'm stoked to see those bikes on the World Cup circuit, most every weekend now. Also, got to touch on Cash. I didn't know that he was on board for the Yeti factory team to race World Cups. If you don't know, I never met or knew really of Cash until this accident, but now that I've looked into it, it's a tragic story. Road to recovery set up for him, but that his name popped up in that Yeti release, and it kind of it bummed me out. I was unaware that he had a ride with Yeti, which would have been a really cool step for his career. So go check out the Road to Recovery. Do what you can to support Cash. Last thing that popped up, I was watching some Marco Osborne race recaps from the trans races he's been to. There was the Stone King Rally, and then Andy's Pacifico down in Chile. And I mean, I think Randy's POVs are some of the best coverage coming out of these events. And I don't know, they're just really sick events. And dude, Marco is going so freaking fast on these trails that are blind. And the trails themselves that he's riding are absolutely insane, full alpine style. And like seeing how Marco interprets those trails without ever riding them is just like a real treat. And I don't know, there's things to learn from watching his GoPros, and it's just like, I think some of the best coverage coming out of these events that I think are like the coolest version of enduro racing, but they kind of fly under the radar sometimes. So go check out Marco Osborne's channel. He's got sick videos from all the races he goes to, and he goes to a lot of sick races and goes really fast at them too. I wanted to address was the Bronson V2 versus V5 shootout and the Evans MTB Saga imitator allegations. Yeah, if you guys didn't see it, I released that V2 versus V5 video, and unbeknownst to me, Evans MTB Saga released, the same concept of a video pretty much the day before, and I was made aware of that in the comments. But yeah, that was just straight coincidence. It honestly bummed me out, kind of pissed me off. Like, I had kind of been working on that video for a while now. Like, I'm not saying he copied me. It's like legit a straight coincidence. It's kind of freaking weird, especially that I brought my buddy Evan on for the video. The fact that Evan's MTB Saga has the same damn video the day before. Like, what the hell? So yeah, honestly, I was kind of bummed to find out that, I was a day late to the punch on the Bronson shootout video that I guess everyone's working on. Like, yeah, the fact that they're the same bikes, like, I don't know. But so yeah, I don't know, saw some comments on that, so just wanted to touch on that thing. I'm not really trying to be associated with Evans MTB Saga, kind of a different vibe from what I'm trying to do here. So I'll just keep trucking on, but stay tuned for the second episode of the Bronson shootout, because we rode those bikes on gnarlier trails and it's quite interesting. I'll just say that. So you guys will enjoy that video. Oh, one sec. I said I would do a listener questions thing. I'm totally shooting from the hip, guys, here. It's 11 o'clock on a Friday, Not that Fridays have much meaning to me, but you know, I barely have any idea of what I'm doing here. Mike says, give me some long chainstay philosophy talk, dagnabbit. I'll just say that I've been thinking about it a lot. And I think there's something missing out there. A bike that's never been made. I don't know. I don't think I'm really ready to spill the beans on it yet. It's honestly nothing super revolutionary. It's just a bike that in the evolution of mountain bike geometry, I think got missed and is probably the best solution for most riders that, you know, aren't going to be riding downhill tracks on a daily basis and that just want a bike to feel good. After riding a few different bikes recently, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I've been missing a feeling that I've had in certain points. I've gotten little tastes of it, but I think I know what I want now and I have a good idea of how to get it. We'll see what the next year, you know, what the future holds for me, but if I'm ever in a position to make a bike, I've got something that I'm excited about. Well, this kind of goes into this. Mr. Super Mugen asks, reach, how else should we dissect reach numbers? What else influences and what other geo can help change to help short and long reach? He said, I've had issues with reaches around 475 to 480 with longer chain stays. Felt like I get pushed over the front. Weirdly, the Rain E seems like an exception. Okay. So there, I'll put it up. You guys can read the rest. But the first part, I think generally, yes, there's a lot more going on than just reach. The first thing you have to consider is stack height. Because say you want to get your bars at the same height on a short stack bike and a long stack bike. That's not the right way to refer to it, but say you got your long stack, you have to run less spacers to get the same bar height. On the short stack bike, you have to run more spacers, which then puts, you know, from where this reach and stack is being measured, it puts your bars further back, you know, along the plane of the steer tube. So your effective reach, I guess, or where your handlebars are is going to be further back. So a bike with a higher stack will be bigger than a bike with a shorter stack if you put your bars in the same place. The other thing is I am of the opinion that if you have a longer chainstay, you don't need such a long reach. I think, you know, a lot of the sizing thing, given, you know, a certain style of bike, should be around wheelbase. My theory around that is if you have a longer chainstay, you're able to ride the bike in a more upright position. You're able to ride the bike off the back more with more weight on the front wheel. You don't have to be as aggressive over the front. And I think, you know, I'm talking about this as like, it's maybe a conscious decision, but I think most riders like just intuit where that comfy place is. And it's not something that you really have to actively think about it. You can definitely compensate, you know, for your weight bias either way. But I think naturally our bodies move to the happy spot of weight distribution and grip. And like on a longer chainstay bike, that happy spot of weight distribution is further back. Since the front wheel's weighted, you don't have to be over there with your body weight as much. So that opens up the cockpit more. And you have this wheelbase, you know, with the longer chainstay. So you don't need to go, you're not chasing a wheelbase number and just adding reach. Like, I think it does a lot of positive things for the fit of the bike. It gives you a little bit more arm travel, articulation to work with, and it gives you the wheelbase, you know, without being stretched over the front. It allows you to open up the cockpit more because it allows you to ride in a more neutral or rearward position. So for me, like the Banshee Titan comes to mind, and even the Forbidden Druid, you know, both around 470 reach. Those bikes felt big, you know, reach-wise, like cockpit-wise. The Stump Jumper 15, same reach, 475, felt much more cramped cockpit-wise. And I think it's because I shift my whole weight forward, you know. To be in between the wheels, I have to be more forward on the bike with the shorter chainstay. You know, like I said, I think we intuit to be we want the feeling of being in between the wheels, and I think our body intuits that. So when you put the rear wheel back without doing anything to the reach, it naturally opens up the cockpit more. I just talked around that issue in 2 different ways, trying to say the same thing, but I hope you get what I'm understanding. Oh my God. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. So the second issue is so the second question, he's saying he had issues with reaches 475 to 480 with longer chainstays. I feel like they get pushed over the front when on steep terrain. This is a side effect of longer chainstay bikes. But my advice here, or what I would suspect, is that you're probably running your bars too low. If you feel like you're getting pushed over the front, I mean, that's kind of like one of the main advantages of a longer chainstay bike. What I'm saying with this whole weight bias thing is that you can run your bars higher. So I say if you're getting that sensation with a longer chainstay, you can probably get away with running a higher bar. And I would recommend like pushing the limits, like go significantly higher, see how it feels. When I was adjusting to my Dreadnought V1, you know, I went higher, a little higher, but it was nowhere near high enough. And it was only after I added like another 5 to 7.5 mils under the stem and put on 38 mil rise bars, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this bike is starting to make sense. And it gave me that same sensation when I had my bars too low. He continues to say that chainstays make the bike feel lazy, and I would disagree with that, but it does take a little bit more effort. I'm not gonna go down the rabbit hole too much. That is my answer. And so there's another question regarding this, basically saying that have reaches gone too far? To get a balanced reach and to get a balanced front to rear center ratio on a 480 reach bike, you need a 450 chainstay, and that just means the wheelbase is really big. I would say yes. That's the issue the bike I've been brainstorming kind of revolves around. And like I said, it's not anything groundbreaking, but I don't think any mainstream bike company is thinking about bringing anything like that to market, because it would take a really educated and strong marketing pitch to do it. And I don't think anyone really cares that much at these companies to build a bike like that. But I do, and I think I could sell the shit out of it. I mean, at least to you guys. You guys are the target market for this bike. I think a lot of you would like it. I don't know if the larger mountain bike community would really get it, but I think in a small batch, like, you guys would like the bike. On that note, yeah, I'm going to Taiwan in March for the Taipei Bike Show. I'm gonna have a lot of coverage with that, but I'm also interested in some bike biz. So we'll see how that situation develops. But I'm stoked to bring you guys along for the ride for that whole adventure. I'm going with this guy from Hong Kong that I've never met before. So it's gonna be awesome. Oh, shout out to DH Racer. I think his name's Doug. Sent me a pair of high top Impacts 510s, old school shit. Like, dude, those things are badass. Like, that's the best gift anyone's ever given me. So for a random guy off the internet to hook me up with a fresh pair of vintage 510s, I don't know, that just made my day. But besides that, some updates for the channel that you guys can look forward to. I'm working on a e-bike shootout with a bike shop out of Marin called Marin Service Course. And if you guys remember Nick Doman from some of my videos earlier this year, he's gonna be teaming up with me, and we have a sick lineup of e-bikes. Also, I've been editing a demo reel that pretty much combines my last 10 years of mountain bike filmmaking. For those of you who don't know, I've shot a shit ton of Vital Raws and other, like, I was like kind of part-time freelance on the side for video work for, I don't know, a good handful of years. So, I mean, I've got footage of EWS, Crankworks, you know, a lot of high caliber riders. And I've compiled a lot of footage into like an 8-minute ripping edit. And I don't know, it's just been refreshing to edit sick bike riding to music instead of my fucking dumbass talking to the camera. Like, guys, I'm here for it. You know, I'm kind of committed to doing this YouTube thing, but talking to this camera and editing it on the back end in that chair that the bike that camera's next to right now for hours on end. I'm not gonna say I love it, but I like it a lot more than getting a real job. So we're gonna try and keep the dream alive. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But I was stoked to edit this demo reel, and it fucking rips. Yeah, it's a video I've been like building and fascinating about in my head forever. I just haven't really gotten the fire under my ass to do it. And yeah, I've kind of been working on it for like the past few weeks now, and it's pretty much 99% done. So hoping to get that out in the next week or so. Got another budget bike challenge, like got a lot of irons in the fire right now. So stay tuned. Thanks to all of you who watch, especially those who subscribe on Patreon. Yeah, these videos go early over there, and yeah, helps keep the dream alive. It's getting late. I'm waking up early tomorrow to go down to the bay and do a dig day at Brioni's, tune up the test tracks a little more. So I'm gonna hit the hay, as they say, but thanks for watching. Good night.